I'm a former editor-in-chief of the Daily Business Review and a staff writer for the Miami Herald. I have covered various business and legal topics in this region over the last 30-some-odd years, and know a lot about the cycles and the trials and tribulations of many of the folks who have been on stage today. We're really privileged to have four of the premier developers in South Florida on stage with us to discuss their assessment of the future of South Florida's pre-construction market. Now, I keep trying to read these things without my glasses. So, to my left, Gil Deser. He is an accomplished businessman, an ideal young visionary, one of the largest oceanfront property owners in Sunny Isles Beach. He and his father, Michael, own just over 27 acres of prime oceanfront property, arguably one of the largest holdings of beachfront property owned and developed in the state of Florida. In 2011, he announced a master licensing agreement with Germany-based Porsche Design Group to expand the iconic brand's reach into the residential real estate market. The venture's first project is a 60-story ultra-luxury tower showcasing a one-of-a-kind patented robotic parking system, the Deservator, which will allow owners to park their vehicles in sky garages directly next to their units. It's a testament to how the project has been received by buyers as well as the lending community. Desert Development received a $214 million construction loan from Wells Fargo in September 2013, at the time marking the largest loan for a single construction project in the Southeast in the post-recession era. It was a true stamp of approval for Porsche Design Tower, slated for completion in the second quarter of 2016. Only a few residences remain. I think I've got this right. Are there more?
That's right, just 6.
Okay. Most recently, Desert Development expanded into Miami's booming art and design district through another joint venture with a related group to launch Hyde Midtown Suites and Residences, the flagship property of the extraordinary Sobe lifestyle brand. At the end of the table, we have Dan Kotze, developer at Royal Palm Properties. He is a real estate industry veteran with more than 25 years of experience developing a diversified portfolio of mixed-use, multifamily, condominium, and planned single-family developments. With $1.2 billion in completed projects and nearly an additional $1 billion in current developments, he continues to build an extensive development track record, having built 25 separate development projects and over 3,000 units in the state of Florida throughout his career. He currently is working on several major projects set to deliver an additional 1,000 units. Presently, he is expanding the Paramount brand with the development of internationally renowned Paramount Miami World Center, the signature residential tower at Miami World Center. On my immediate left, Dev Madwani of Merrimack Ventures. He serves as president of the company, a Fort Lauderdale-based real estate firm that focuses on value-added investment and development opportunities. Property types owned and operated include hotels, condos, retail, office, and rental apartments throughout the United States with a primary focus on Florida. He is also founder and managing partner of Ramesh Properties, a distressed real estate investment fund focused on opportunistic investments in residential and commercial development sites throughout South Florida. He currently oversees nearly $750 million in development projects. They currently include the Four Seasons Hotel and private residences, the Gale Boutique Hotel and residences, as well as Las Olas Riverfront, all in the Fort Lauderdale area. He graduated from Duke University. How's basketball going to go this fall? With a Bachelor's of Science degree in Economics Development program. He has also studied at the London School of Economics. And I'm also pleased to introduce Jean-Francois Roy. He is the founder and president of Ocean Land Investments. Founded in 1990, the company acquires and develops prime waterfront property, providing luxury residences and improving the overall aesthetic of previously underutilized sites. Mr. Roy started in the retirement home business in Quebec, came to Fort Lauderdale to do the same, but the condo market was so compelling that he went into that business instead. Today, Ocean Land Investments is revitalizing waterfront property in the first Las Olas Isles of Fort Lauderdale with 5 luxury condo projects in development. Welcome, gentlemen. I think I'd like to follow the path a little bit of some of the questions that we asked of our real estate brokers this morning. I think, except for Dan, everybody is more or less a newcomer or not an original resident of Florida. So I want to get a little bit of a sense from each of you on, number one, why Miami? What attracted you to the market? And have your expectations been fulfilled with all the ups and downs of the marketplace? Gil, if you could start with that.
Good afternoon. My name is Gil Desert. Well, why Miami is an obvious answer. We all know why we love living here. I can tell you, I grew up in the Northeast and born in Queens, grew up in New Jersey. My father bought our first hotel here in Miami in 1987, when we were still living up north. And that caused me to go here to the University of Miami. I went from 93 to 97. And as I was graduating, we were looking to, we heard about Sunny Isles Beach. And basically you say why Miami and why did we buy where we were, is we are first and foremost New Yorkers that came and saw a piece of ocean that was surrounded by 3 of the best neighborhoods. We had Bal Harbour to the south, Golden Beach to the north, and Aventura to the west. And we saw it as a natural evolution of Sunny Isles Beach turning into a real first-class city. We couldn't understand why thousands of cars would pass by every single day and nobody even made a play for it. So, and at first people thought we were crazy when we were buying these little motels, but of course it worked out. So we saw an opportunity. We saw Miami as a paradise, which it is. That's why we all love living here. I'm sure everybody in this room will agree that every weekend we get to be on vacation. And so, it was a natural evolution for our business. Our company started in New York. My father started in 1975 in Manhattan, in Chelsea. We're the largest landlords in the Chelsea area, and that's a business that's still going on today. My sisters are both up in New York running that side of the business. And so when I graduated from school, I started working first for other companies, but eventually with my father in 2000. And that's when we started developing properties on the beach. And so why Miami? Because there's no place in the world that's better.
Yeah, so we actually our family bought our first motel in Fort Lauderdale in '86, so it came right around the same time as Gil and his family. We came from St. Charles, Missouri, thinking that we were getting into the hotel business. Fort Lauderdale at that time was the spring break capital of the world, and things quickly changed when the city decided the next year to kick spring breakers out. We've seen that market change drastically, going from a spring break haven to becoming what we think is a luxury alternative to Miami. We just broke ground on the Four Seasons residences, and Four Seasons is something 30 years ago we never could have imagined on Fort Lauderdale Beach. So we've seen a major transformation over that time. It wasn't always obvious. It's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in between. I'm sure Gil's experienced the same, but I think the end product is fantastic. And yeah, we have the reasons to be in South Florida right now. When you look at the weather, when you look at taxes, when you look at strength in Latin America, it's weak right now, but it's coming back. I mean, the reality is Miami and really South Florida is becoming a tier 1 global destination, whereas 30 years ago when we got here, we were hardly a tier 3 U.S. city. And so that shift in terms of real estate values is tremendous, and I think we're still on the front end of that.
Okay, thank you, Deb. Jean-Francois, I think for you it's why Fort Lauderdale, or in a greater sense, South Florida.
We used to the development on the ocean between Miami and Palm Beach, and big project. And after the recession, we decided to develop a niche market in Fort Lauderdale because we were able to find some great parcel of land on the water at a very attractive price. So currently we have 5 projects, and with 5 more coming in, all located either on their coastal or on the waterfront. What's different of the project we're doing? We designed a project for baby boomer. So every of our project are a boutique. They all have high ceiling, huge kitchen. It's a little bit different than what we used to do in the past, which was more for tourists or foreigner. Our market is mainly local people who have housed within an area of 1,000 feet. They all have huge house and they all want to downsize for changing the quality of life. So we designed a new project today, which is for the baby boomer.
And Dan, I think you're the closest to a local we have, having migrated here as a child and going to the University of Miami and then moving forward from there.
Not to date myself, but I've been here since the late 80s. And when you hear about why Miami is, and I'm not going to do it just to get a roar out of the crowd, but this is the most exciting city on the eastern seaboard of the United States. Miami has the most opportunity to become an urban center. I don't know if people read Departure magazine called Miami America's City of the Future. And there's a reason for that. Miami has a great opportunity to become probably one of the most urbanized, exciting cities on the eastern side of the United States. When I came here, and I went to University of Miami in the late 80s, it was funny. I remember my friends from New York City always made me fun. These were New Yorkers, and they would say, oh, downtown Miami, what a joke! It's 2 streets. That's it. The whole thing is Flagler, and it was we were selling old stereos and I guess trying to sell stereos to the cruise ships. And today, we're embarking on redeveloping our urban core. We're going to be adding, literally in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to be adding 2.3 million square feet of retail. And so we saw the last cycle where we added thousands of units. The population of downtown Miami doubled in years. Within years, doubled. All of these units who people thought were going to be dark, empty units, all became full of people. You see the streets have been activated. You walk down the streets of Miami, it's a different city. And so the transition in 25 years was extravagant. But what's going to happen over the next 5 years is something we just can't imagine. The 2 major malls are being built, one in Brickell and of course Miami World Center, which we're building the Paramount. And so imagine that now the retail, the restaurants, the lounges, all these, we're building outdoor retail, indoor retail. And so imagine now the entire, and I'm not just talking about the city of Miami, because I know some people here represent South Florida. All of South Florida, this is going to be a central area for all of South Florida to gather. This is going to be, in New York, when people talk New York, when people live in New Jersey, it's like, well, let's go to the city. Well, people in Boca Raton, people in West Palm Beach are going to say, we're going to go to Miami because that's going to be the city.
Gentlemen, earlier today we put to a panel of real estate brokers some questions on, I guess, balancing the equation, positives versus negatives. As you've pointed out, Miami has grown and matured as a principal primary destination for many people from around the United States and from overseas. And of course, the type of products that you're offering are very innovative from the standpoint of amenities, convenience, design, and style. And of course, the Miami economic scene has also just exploded and gotten its legs. In the opinion of many people, economists, academics, and people who do business every day, there's a tremendous amount of sustainability for the economy. On the flip side, however, we have seen some signs of where foreign investors help drive the current surge in purchases and development. There have been currency reverses for many buyers. We have bad traffic, and we also have infrastructure concerns on the part of many who live here. And of course, that leads into the discussion about sea level rise. We're all very close to the Atlantic Ocean, right on the Atlantic Ocean. Do any of those concern, when you approach people who are potential buyers, how do you balance these things? You have, some very strong positives on the one side of the equation, but there are these negatives that have popped up, recently, and how are you dealing with those?
Well, for starters, sea level rise has been a hot topic lately, but I, for one, am not concerned. I don't subscribe with Al Gore, although I listen to him, and even in his own show or movie or whatever it was that he did, we had something like 50 years to go. So I'll be an old man by then. It'll be my kids' problems, I guess. but as far as what's going on here, as far as infrastructure goes, there are some issues that are happening that we have. But I see that everything happens, and what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So when us as developers are going for a permit to build these buildings, we're paying impact fees to the cities. The cities, specifically where we are in Sunny Isles Beach, they're using that money positively. They're not squandering it on stupid stuff, and they're going ahead and using that money for infrastructure projects and beautification projects on the street and that kind of stuff. So, it all goes hand in hand. We build beautiful buildings on the ocean. We want a beautiful streetscape for our buyers to be driving around on. And as far as the local economy here, I mean, we're seeing, one of the great things that us developers are doing here for not just Miami, but for the United States, is we are repatriating a lot of dollars that have just left the United States and bringing them back here. And that's a very important thing for the U.S. economy in general, because it's not just $5. We're talking about billions of dollars of money that's been offshore, that's coming back into the United States, being invested in the local market, and therefore, in turn, we as developers are taking that money and spending it again in the local market, and really keeping the job growth and everything else here in Miami. So going forward, construction is going to be very, very important. We are running out of land. So the next question is, what are we doing looking forward? If you took Dubai as an example, they ran out of oil, so they went and started building buildings. Well, we never had oil, so we're building buildings now, but what happens when we run out of land? We need to find other sectors within business, whether it be tech, medical, or any of those different sectors that we need to start building a foundation on. As we all know, the financial sector here, being the capital of South America, is very, very strong, and we can still build on that too. There's still room for that to grow. And so in general, I see Miami as, there are some parts that are missing, but once we build it, they will come. And like I said, the quality of life here, the lifestyle here, is the reason why we're all here, and once people get to taste that, there's no reason to go back.
Thanks, Gil. And Dev, what's your standpoint?
Yeah, I concur. I think, infrastructure, any municipality or any area that has positive in-migration is going to have infrastructure challenges. Transportation is something that we need to stay on top of, but we're seeing that with things like all aboard Florida and in Fort Lauderdale, the WAVE streetcar system. We're going to see more mass transit. Mass transit hasn't worked down here because we didn't have the density. Now we're starting to see the urban cores densified, and with that population, we'll see the ridership numbers we need to justify those modes. We've seen great improvements in Fort Lauderdale and our city staff and what they're doing to address resiliency. That is it's a public sector item, so we're watching it closely. Over the long term, we feel like the city leaders are taking it seriously. So we're happy about that. But the reality is, when you look at the economics of becoming a global city, we talk about there's always softness somewhere in the world, but there's also strength. And so we have buyers coming from all over the world, even in Fort Lauderdale now, which was a kind of a unique trend to that market, which had been predominantly U.S. and Canada. So we're seeing strength somewhere always, and this is a place that people are going to want to be over the long haul. So I feel really good about the future. And there's always going to be some dips here and there. This is South Florida real estate, let's not forget. So hopefully the dips aren't too big. But I think there's a real fundamental shift in what we're seeing here. And that with these projects, as Gil pointed out, comes a lot of capital. So there's a lot of money to fix a lot of these concerns that you mentioned.
Jean-Francois.
We all aware of the change of the climate, and the government is aware about that. And today, to get some permit, you have to change the way you build. So every building we have right now, we're about 18 inches to 2 feet higher than the neighbor. Our seawall are at least 2 to 3 feet more than the old seawall. So we address the situation, and we're facing the problem, and the government is there to dictate what